Greetings
Bless
and
you.
welcome. Yes, I greetings and welcome to the Alonzo Bash podcast. I'm your host, Alonzo Bash, and today's special guest is a legend, I should say an icon in the reggae or the Trinidad and Tobago. Some people call him the farmer, some people call him the cowboy. One of the first artists of the Trinidad to really hit that international stardom, man.
Scene, yeah.
Without further ado,
Give,
Marlon Asher, welcome, brother.
give thanks and to all the viewers, all the ears that hear, a pleasant good evening and may God be with us wherever we are in this time.
Yes,
Blessing.
yes, I. All right, man. Well, first time we really link up face to face and so forth. So usually what I do, I
Definitely.
like to get into people's background and stuff to kind of share the stories and share who you are as a person before you even get into the artistry, because a lot of times you
Oh,
see
definitely.
artists, you see people and really don't know much about their background. And you a man, you grew up
Yeah,
from the growing up. So born
yeah,
and
yeah,
raised
yeah.
in Enterprise Chaguanas, am I correct?
Yeah, I was born in Port of Spain General
Mm,
Hospital and I grew up in Enterprise Shogunas,
yeah. Mm,
small community, but, most of the the big art leagues and the big, it's a small community, but it's produced a lot of great people.
yeah. A matter of fact, I have an uncle that actually lives in Enterprise. You
Yes,
know?
definitely. So you should know, I mean,
Yeah, I've been out
Enterprise
there.
is a place. Yeah,
Mm,
yeah.
yeah.
It's a
So what
nice
was it like?
community.
Mm,
It's a nice community. Lately, it's been plagued by a little bit of crime, but
yeah.
it's
Mm,
that crime is everywhere. So I do appreciate the fact that I came from Enterprise and I am always an advocate for peace and love in the price.
yeah, yeah. What was it like growing up in Enterprise in them early years for you? Like childhood days and stuff like that.
Well, my childhood days was a simple childhood. I had my friends. We were always together. We did
Yeah.
everything together.
Mm,
Kenny might have told you this.
yeah.
We were heavily involved in soccer.
Okay.
Uh, we were, this is where the most of our discipline came from. By playing soccer, we had a coach that was, strict on discipline and school work, and so we had to excel in those, areas in order to play ball.
Yeah.
Growing up for us was simple life. We could have gone to any house and have a meal. Any one of our friends, we could have gone to their house and sleep at night.
Mm,
And I grew up with a kind of open door policy where you never really had to close your doors at night.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was a simple and a blessed life, I must say.
Yeah. Nice. What was the family structure like? Where you fall into the structure? First child, second child. Mom and dad was around. What was it like?
well, I'm
Family life?
well, I'm in the middle of 12 kids.
Okay. Wow. Mm,
So I'm dab smack in the middle. I'm number 6.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do
I'm
you know all
six
these
of
siblings? You guys all grew up
Huh?
together? You guys all
Yeah,
grew
we
up
all
together?
grew up. Yeah, we
Mm,
all grew in the same house.
yeah.
I shared my room with my brother and one of my younger sister, and
Yeah.
we had a small home, so we had to make it work. My father, he worked like 6 months in Canada and stayed
Okay.
in Trinidad like 6 months. So
Mm,
for only 6 months at a time, we got to be with our dad. Our mom was,
okay.
she was the rock in the family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. What about your schooling, primary school days and all them kind of thing? What primary school you went to?
Yeah. I went to Shoguna's government primary
Yeah.
school, and
Mm-hmm.
then I went to Karapichaima Junior, and then
Okay.
I went to Shoguna's senior com.
Mm.
After that, I was heavily immersed into woodworking. You know,
Okay.
I
Mm.
yeah, so I kind of made my own furnitures
Yeah.
and sold them on the side of the road. Yeah.
Wow.
As you
Wow.
can see,
See?
I got. Yeah, as
Yeah.
you can see, I got a little trademark from it,
Oh man, you
using
know
a
what?
table saw.
Wow. You know what? That's something I
Yeah.
never knew. All right, so for guys who is listening to podcasts, um, Marlon just showed me his finger, well, his hand rather, and he's actually missing a finger. I never knew he was missing a finger.
Yeah, that was a woodworking accident that I was trying to finish a set and it
Yeah.
got dark on me, and my
Wow.
shop wasn't the most litted up shop, I would
Yeah.
say,
Wow.
yeah, so I had an incident late in the evening, and yeah, I cut four of my fingers, and one had to be severed.
Wow.
The
That's
other
crazy.
had to be one. I got an artificial joint in one of my finger.
Wow.
Yeah,
For real?
so growing up for me, yeah, I'm a man of, I've had a lot of mishaps growing up
Yeah.
in my teen life. I used to work at the Angostura facility,
Yes.
and
Yes.
I got burned. I got burned with molasses and water from
What?
head to toe. Yeah, yeah.
Serious?
Actually, actually, I can't stay too much in the cold because my the
Uh,
layer of skin that I grew back,
yeah.
was thin.
Wow.
Oh my God, bro. I'm seeing a snake right now, and I just want to
Yeah.
go and get it, but I gotta let it go. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You're not farmer for
Oh
real,
my
man.
God. Yeah, yeah. This
Not
snake is
farmer for
passing
real,
right in
man.
front of me.
Serious?
I don't want to let it go, but I gotta let it go.
Yo. I mean, you'll take a break.
Yeah,
You good?
yeah. Let me take a small break because I gotta deal with this by the house.
All right. All right. Yeah, you take a break
Give
on that.
thanks.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, 1 sec. I'll be
All
right
right.
back.
Yeah, man. Wow, that's crazy. Man, say so a snake, yes. Hmm. That's crazy.
All right, he bolted on me.
Yeah.
What a pretty guy, but very dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
When red touch black, what goes on? You
Oh
gotta
yeah.
stay
What are
away
those?
from that.
Oh yeah. Jano stop it. See, I think I said take a break. Wow, that's crazy. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
man. I,
Yeah.
there
Mm,
are a lot of poisonous snake in Costa Rica, and
yeah.
so far, I caught like three of them.
Okay. Okay.
The thing about it is the most poisonous one I'm seeing.
Oh yeah. That's serious, man.
Yeah,
That's serious.
yeah, man. But it's all good. It's nature.
Yeah.
They're mostly about their own business.
Yeah. Wow. Well, we will get into
Yeah.
to get into we will get into all of that. All right. So you see, you got
Yeah.
burnt. You see, you got burnt.
Yeah, I was
Angostura.
burned from head. I was burned from head to toe, and they rushed me to the hospital. But the
Mm.
molasses had stuck to my skin, and it was like 2 or 3 days. I was burning still
Oh,
until
that's
they
crazy.
could get that molasses removed from my skin. So I have a
Mm.
couple different degree of burn on my skin.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
That's
So
that's
yeah,
crazy.
man. It's not that life was, I
Yeah.
guess life was preparing me for new things to come. So
Yeah.
it's when I was in hospital in them time I, really
Mm.
got to thinking about what I wanted to do and stuff,
Yeah.
to kind of make ends meet. So yeah,
Yeah.
singing was definitely on the list.
Yeah. Before we get back to that, I want to kind of step back a little bit with the woodworking shop and some of the furniture you had made. Um,
Yeah.
so some of these. So you say you had a shop. You had a shop on the main road area, or you or something was
Yeah,
hustling
on the
on
main
the.
road enterprise. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's people right
Yeah,
now
on
in
the
Trinidad that have furniture was made by Marlon Asher.
Oh, definitely. Not only furniture, but I made
Yeah.
a few things, that people would today say, "Oh, I still got the thing you made me." You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? So yeah,
Wow, that's
I
crazy,
made a
man.
few items that I sold. You know,
Mhm.
I had children young, so I
Yeah.
kind of dabble in different work to make ends meet back then.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Oh yeah,
impressive, man.
yeah, yeah,
All
yeah.
right. So you see you're laying in the hospital, and at this point, you're reflecting on pretty much the direction of your life.
Yeah, yeah, what next for me? Because the woodworking, it was getting to be something that I couldn't stay in. I was getting allergic to the sawdust and having
Mhm.
allergic reactions to the sawdust.
Yeah.
So I was on the brink of leaving that profession and finding something new.
Yeah.
So when I
Yeah.
came out, I went and I self-taught myself masonry. You know,
Okay. Mm.
I did pretty well at that. I built
Hard
my
work.
house, me and my best friend, with my
Yeah.
own hands. So yeah,
Oh,
from
wow.
foundation to finish. So yeah, I'm a handyman with a lot of job that around the house I could take care of.
Nice. 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 All right. So you build a home there, and was it still in Shoguanas area?
Yeah, man. I still have my house. I got my kids living there. I had 7 kids for
Yeah.
of my own, and my
Mm.
eldest died, but the rest of them are still
Condolences.
there. Yeah, I
Mm.
got one son, and like my father had like 7 daughters and
Okay.
3 sons. My mother had 7 daughters. My mother had
Mm.
6 daughters and 4 sons.
Yes.
Yeah, so and then they had before that they had 1 kid each. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, so it rounded off to 12 children, and
Mm.
uh, you know, we were all we grew up together, boys and girls in the same house, and I came
Yeah.
and had children, and I had like 5 girls, 1 boy.
Oh, yeah. Fire good.
So
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So 1 boy,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
man. So yeah, it was a blessing to, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. The blessed man. So you used to
Yes,
having
sir.
you used to having a big family. You came from that.
Yes, I am.
So are
Yeah,
you the
yeah.
only sibling that's into music, or any other sibling picked up
Oh
the
no,
trade? Mhm.
my if I tell you about my siblings, you will be blown away.
Yeah.
My youngest sister, the one that lived with me and my brother,
Okay.
in when we were back in home. She is actually a queen of Kaiso in Trinidad. Her name is Stacy Sobers.
Really?
She's uh, always a heavy hitter in the social commentary competition.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Wow.
she won it. She won a few times, so she's up there.
Mm.
Last year, I think she did a tribute to one of the greats that passed.
All right.
In the
Stacy
soca world,
Super.
and she did well. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Nice. Nice.
And my eldest brother, he toured the world playing his steel drums. He won the festival,
Uh-huh.
the individual pan shootout in the music festival. He won that. He won a few competitions. With
Yeah.
his pan. My father is a well known Caisonian too. He's called Joe Cool.
Oh yeah. I miss
Yeah,
that one, but
man.
Joe Cool. All right. Well, I can see where the name Joe Cool come from, because you're kind of cool that guy, So I'm seeing the
Yeah,
similarity.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
yeah, so we've been in music all our life though.
Yeah.
From a tender age. My father, every time he come from Canada, he would bring a different instrument. Hence the reason why my brother can play mostly any instrument you put in front of him.
Okay.
Well, he
Nice.
passed away like 2 years ago, my brother, at
Yeah.
52.
Condolences.
So yeah,
Condolences.
but he could have played any instrument you put in front of him.
Yeah. Wow, that's nice, man. That's a gift within itself. I also understand
Yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
yourself was into the pan for a while. Also?
Yeah. Well, growing up in Pan,
Yeah.
that's why some people tend to think I'm musically inclined. Like I could hear something and know what chord it is and what key it is. So all
Okay.
that came from my, all that came from being in Pan. I used to play for the Tropical Angel Harps. That's the main
Yeah.
band in Enterprise.
Yeah. Angel House. Big.
And I also, yeah, big band, and also my father's band, New Age Trendsetters.
Okay.
I arranged for that band. I arranged
Mm.
music for the band a few times. My
Yeah.
brother used to arrange. When my
Mm.
father couldn't do it anymore, my brother took over. And when my brother was too busy, I took over.
Okay.
And now my brother's son is actually doing some of the arrangement for them.
Arranging.
So
Nice.
yeah,
Nice. Yeah. So
so yeah,
you
it's a musical a musical family.
yeah. Nice. All right. So like you said, you mentioned so you were in the hospital and at that point you was thinking
Yeah.
about your plans moving forward
Yeah,
because you
what next?
yeah, what next? What
And
happened next?
actually, well, I had to go and teach myself some masonry because
Yes.
singing reggae music in Trinidad was a kind of a no-no.
Oh yeah, at the
you
time for you.
know,
So
at the time, so-called.
you always had that. So okay, so I'm trying to kind of draw a time frame here. So when that incident happened with you at Angostura, did you really at that time? Well, you wasn't singing yet, really, but you had a passion
No.
for reggae.
Yeah, well, first off, I started singing at a tender age of 7, singing in
Oh,
my grandfather's
yeah.
choir. My
Okay.
grandfather had a church, and
Mhm.
I used to be one of the lead singers in the choir.
Okay.
So I
Okay.
was singing. I was introduced to singing and crowd of listening from a tender age.
Hmm.
So I've always been singing. Singing is one of my
Yes, boss.
yeah.
Yes, I.
Sorry about that. A phone call came in and cut me off
Yeah.
there
Right. That's my problem, man. I made it tell you to put your phone on do not disturb.
on silent. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. No worries. Don't worry. I'm pretty good with editing, so
Yeah. Sorry
Yeah, put me
about
to
that.
work. Now you're good, man. It
Yeah.
happens. So you said you grew up in the church pretty much.
Yeah, I grew up in church, spiritual Mount Ararat Spiritual Baptist Church.
Okay. Mm,
Uh, the choir was mainly made up of my siblings and
mm.
one or two other people from the
Community.
uh from the church community. So yeah,
Mm.
I got introduced to reggae music by my eldest brother.
Okay.
He went to New York for a
Mm.
while, and when he came back, he was telling me he came back with dreads and singing
Yeah,
this
that
music.
bongo.
Huh? Yeah,
He came up with a
he
big
came
bongo.
back with dreads. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and singing this music, but
Uh,
I always hearing him singing it, and that music just resonate with me.
mm,
It was something that I felt that it was for me. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
So
Yeah.
of course, I asked him, what about this music? So he introduced me to a lot of music, reggae music, Spit in the Sky, Going Fall in Your Eye. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? You
Yeah.
Roy, I Roy, the greats. So and then I fell in love with the music, and
Mm,
I've been doing reggae music since I was like maybe 12, 12
12.
years.
Okay.
I was probably, yeah.
Yeah.
And I've been singing that music ever since.
Right.
And the thing about it is, I acknowledge from a young age that hey, I'm not Jamaican, so
Yeah. Yeah.
I really spend time with the music, trying to perfect the way I put the words across and the meaning, and cause soca is totally different. Soca, you could say something and mean something else. And
Yeah.
reggae
Yeah.
music, you gotta be adamant with your message. You gotta be punctual. So yeah,
Mm,
I took a little time and really nurtured this reggae music, and then I started performing it, what I wrote, in the local clubs and on the streets, and yeah,
all right.
enter
All right.
into the little.
Right.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah. I want to kind of paint the picture, but I'm trying to connect from the moment you decide, like, you know what, this is what I want to do. This is the direction I'm heading. Because I guess at that point you said you did masonry.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I did
Right.
masonry, but then,
Mm, mm,
so yeah, I'm getting to that point. I did masonry, so then I was, kind of being, they were saying, hey, the singing, because
mm-hmm.
I would be
Why they
plastering a
plastic
wall,
the
I'm
singing?
singing.
Yeah. See, why they
I'm
plastic
putting
the
up
singing?
blocks, I'm singing. So, the supervisor came over to me and he said, man, you're a much better singer than a mason. He said, I could only give you certain job to do.
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
man, but man, I keep you on the job because that singing keeps us up all day.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he said, you're learning the job here and you're doing
Yeah.
really good. I'm not saying you're not doing good in masonry, but he said, I
Right.
think you should be a singer. I said,
Mm.
well, I've been singing all my life. He said, no. He said,
Yeah.
I think you should pursue singing as a career. And that was kind of the turning point there.
Mm. Okay.
Because, he spoke to somebody who came and spoke to me, and then they took me to record sound, and, you know,
Yeah.
so,
You
and that's
remember
how
your
I met, that's how I met my first manager, Jerron Woodruff.
okay, okay, okay.
Yeah.
You remember the first studio you went into and what you put
Oh,
down at
yeah,
that time?
yeah. It was Ganja. The first song I ever recorded was Ganja Farmer.
Really?
That's the first. Yeah, that's the
Ah,
first
man.
song I.
Nah, man. So you telling me the first song you went into the studio and record just automatically became a international hit?
Yeah, that's the first song I recorded in a
What?
in a studio ever, and hear myself back.
Wow.
Yeah,
Now
man. So
I've
it was
Marlon,
it was
I never heard this before, man. I've interviewed quite a number of artists, and I've never heard one person say that the first song that they recorded just out the gate, boom. That's
yeah,
crazy.
out of the gate, man. Yeah, and I think it had a lot to do with my spirituality and
Yeah.
love for humanity. I would say, because uh I've you know that's why I've based my music on these things, spirituality, equal
Mm,
rights,
yeah.
humanity. These are the things I base my music on, because these are the things that I feel, that inspired me to
Yeah.
be, what I
Yeah.
am today. Yeah, so the studio I was Songwave, I think it was Carl Beaver Henderson was the producer.
Okay. Okay.
And we came to the studio. We didn't even have a beat, but I used to be singing this song in all of the clubs and making a
Mm,
name for myself. And this song became a popular song on the island.
okay.
So yeah, we recorded the song and we put it out. And the thing about it, we didn't put it out in Trinidad.
Really?
So I guess the strategy was to send it abroad and
Mm.
see how it stand up abroad because everyone home already like the song.
All
So
right. Put a
we
pause.
kind of
Put a pause right there before when you mentioned sending the board. I'm thinking because I grew up in Trinity too. I grew up in Trinity. You know, most of my teenage years, I left there when I was 17, 18. So
yeah, yeah,
I remember some of these things because before the song was recorded, you used to freestyle that song, out
all
in
over the
clubs, like all
yeah,
in clubs like that. So on the ground level, the song was kind of bubbling, and then when you
bubbling
record,
in the
right,
country. Yeah.
right, and then when you actually recorded it, eh, so that rhythm. So a couple of things before we even get into the rhythm. How you came up with that concept of ganja farmer? How that came about?
Well, I used to be singing a song back in the days called Ganja Man,
Okay.
Ganja Man, Ganja Man. Say me never want walk the road with I man spliff in me hand. Me no
Yeah.
want leave evidence for the girl. Babylon I sing again. Say
Mm,
Ganja Man, Ganja Man. Hey man, say ganja, 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 ganja. If you don't want to call it that, call it sesame. You know what I'm saying? But
yeah. Yeah.
then on the islands they had this program called the weed eating program.
Serious?
So they had helicopters from America coming in, and
I remember that.
they were
I remember that.
spraying fires and setting
Yeah.
off traps, and it
Yeah.
was a whole smoky smelly scene in Trinidad because they burning stuff everywhere.
Yeah. I
So
remember that. Mm.
and then I saw a little thing on the TV where they interviewing one of the farmers, and he was like, ah man, this is our livelihood, and this is what we
Yeah.
how we send our kids to school,
Yeah.
and we just making a living, we're not trying to make no, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
I decided to incorporate that into the song that I was singing,
Makes sense.
Ganja Man,
Yeah.
and I reshaped the lyrics in order
Yeah.
to facilitate the farmers
Yeah.
into the song, and
Yeah.
I came up with the song Ganja Farmer.
Nice. And that rhythm, that beat, how that beat came along.
The beat, well, I sat down with Carl Beaver Henderson, right?
Yeah.
And Carl Beaver Henderson is a genius when it's come to making music. He's
Mm.
produced some of the biggest soca songs and the biggest hits in Trinidad.
Yeah.
Jahaji Bai,
Yeah. Big thing. Yeah.
I mean, Trinidad was a boat. All
Yeah.
these kind of big songs he produced. So,
Mm.
sitting down with him and he put in beats to certain, he constructing the beat.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then he would turn to me and say, what would you like to hear? And I would, kind of sing something cause uh, like doo, doo, doo,
Yeah.
doo. So
Yeah.
I would sing something like that. He would put it in,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, we came up with that rhythm is classical because Carl Beaver Henderson, you
Mm.
wouldn't expect that kind of reggae
Yeah.
vibration from him with all that soca background, but I mean, he did a fantastic job,
Man.
and yeah, that rhythm is one to reckon with.
Yeah, because listen, man, the rhythm, before the song even start, the rhythm alone is so unique. Even
Yeah,
with the in the
it's
beginning, the intro, with the drum,
yeah, drum roll
yeah, the
exactly.
drum roll, yeah, the drum roll, yeah,
Yeah.
that's dope.
So
That's dope.
yeah, so these imagine sitting down in the studio and constructing this. Uh, Man, that was a epic day,
Yeah.
because as soon as the rhythm was finished,
Hmm.
you know, the song was recorded.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It was that easy. As soon as the rhythm was made, the song was recorded because I already had that ready.
Yeah.
And people don't know this, but I tried getting in the Kiss Kitty Caravan with that song.
I was what I asked you, man. How come you wasn't one of them youths in the caravan out there in Marval? So you
Yeah.
submitted the song or you went there?
I submitted. I went to the song
Uh,
basin.
Yeah.
I auditioned, I
Yeah.
recorded the song for them,
Yeah.
and that's Carl Beaver Henderson was the producer there too.
Okay.
He produced all those songs. You know what
Mm.
I'm saying? And so that's why since the Kiss Kitty Caravan, he said he was always looking, trying to figure out where I'm at, because he
Yeah.
wanted to make that song into something after hearing it at the Song Basin.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's always been Coda. Yeah, it's always been, you know, on his agenda to produce that song.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when we did get together, it was like magic. We were
Mm.
both stoked to be on the, because I met him at the Song Basin, but never really
Okay.
knew who he was.
Yeah.
So we was kind of stoked to see. Well, I was glad to know that it's someone I knew that is
Yeah.
doing the music, and he was glad to know that someone actually brought me
Yeah.
to him when he was looking for me.
Mm. Right. Right. Right.
Yeah,
Right.
but
So
I
everything
didn't
worked
get in the
out.
car.
Huh?
I didn't get in the caravan though. They said that the content of the song was too graphic, and
But yeah, at that time. Yeah, at that time.
at
And
that
and I,
time in life,
huh. Well, like I said, everything worked out the way it's supposed to work out. If you think about it,
exactly everything for its
it worked
reason.
out. Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. So you guys send the song overseas, and what
Yeah, we
happened after
send
that?
it to New York. We send it to New
Okay.
York to be
Mhm.
released.
Okay.
And send it to. It was a joint management company, Woodruff and Woodruff. So one
Okay.
was based in Trinidad, the other was based in New York.
So they were like the
So,
distributors.
huh?
They were like the distributors.
No, they were actually a management company. You
Okay.
know,
Okay. Mhm.
so it was Woodruff and Woodruff Management, and
Mhm.
they, put out the song, uh, and just to see, how it would do on the grounds in New York,
Yeah.
and it was a runaway hit in New York.
Man, that
By the
rhythm
time
alone.
the song, yeah, by the time the song came back to Trinidad, it was a huge success, and
Yeah.
I was being requested, for travel now.
Yeah.
So I had
Yeah.
to, of course, leave all the work I'm doing and get,
Mhm.
get my moms to see about my kids, and
Yeah.
yeah, and make that journey, to what I call was a most rewarding career.
What was the first place you performed professionally with Ganja
New
Farmer?
York,
New York.
New
Yeah.
York, yeah,
What was that? What
big
was that
show.
reaction like? Was that the first time you going to New York?
Yeah, that's my first
Yeah.
time leaving Trinidad actually.
Wow.
Uh,
Wow.
and
Marlon, man, you gotta
and
tell me, man. You gotta tell us, what was that experience like, man? Because
man,
there's a good thing
well,
about moment, Go ahead.
well, coming from Trinidad
Yeah.
and touching down in New York, it was like,
Mm.
lights everywhere. I
Right.
think we got there at night. So
Because
then they
at this
took me
point,
to
at this
yeah, they
point,
took
yeah,
me to
you're a celebrity, So I wanna know your feeling, your reaction, and everything.
man, I was overwhelmed because the bright lights and the tall buildings. I never seen a like of that
Yeah.
before. You know what I'm saying? They were like, man, you could free up yourself. You were, you
Yeah.
know.
Mm.
But I was like in a shell
Yeah.
because it's my first time out of the country, and I
Yeah.
don't know what to expect with the crowd. And
Yeah.
but then when I got on the stage for the actual show, oh my
Mm-hmm.
God, I couldn't even get a chance to sing that song. And they
Wow.
pulled it up like 5 or 6 times before I could actually get a chance to
Yeah.
sing the song. So yeah, it was epic. I was so full with joy by the end of the evening. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't
Yeah.
do anything. I was just too happy. And yeah, but one thing I could tell you, that
Mm-hmm.
experience actually humbled me.
Okay. Okay.
Made me
Why
a
so?
little more humble. Because I come from a place where people meet people, they greet people, say hi, but nobody
Yeah.
is not trying to scream after me and
Yeah.
pull my foot off the stage, and that kind of that kind of a
Yeah.
response, you know, it kind of made me, you know,
Mhm.
go back into a shell and try to be a little more, you know,
Yeah. Reserve.
conservative, quiet. You know, it
Yeah.
made me think. You know, it's
Yeah.
a blessing.
Well, the
Yeah,
reason why I ask because a lot of times, stardom change people, or some people, like you said, it took you back to your shell. For some people, it changed them into a totally different individual. They
yeah.
put up.
I've seen it, and I've seen
Yeah.
it before. You know, I've
Yeah.
seen it. Actually, I've seen it a lot. You
Yeah.
know, so, but yeah, but for me, I think my spirituality keeps me grounded. You know, I am a man who live in the fear of the Almighty God. You know, I don't try to do things that God will get upset with. You
Yeah.
know, that
Mm.
being, that creator being. You know, I
Yeah.
always think that, for me, my spirituality had, actually take me along the way. If
Yeah.
I didn't have that, I probably not have gone so far.
Mm.
If you know, cause yeah, cause reading the Bible I've read the Bible a few times back.
Okay.
So reading the Bible actually puts that love for humanity, for others, and that sense of not for yourself, but for do for others and not for yourself. So
Yeah.
puts that sense of, you know, I mean, we naturally supposed to have that, but it the Bible instills some things in you that if you
Yes.
carry it about in life, it takes you to different, you know,
Mm-hmm.
places that you might not have gone.
Yes.
If you, it's a something I always talk about. My music isn't about Marlon Asher.
Yeah.
It's not. It's about the way people perceive life and the way I would like to perceive life. As a better place for people, a healthier future. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying?
Yeah.
A place where people can smile at each other and not worry about what is going on around them in the world. I know a
Yes.
lot is going on in the world at the same time, but there's in our hearts and mind we can find that place that brings us back to you know I want to help somebody else. I want
Mm.
to do good for somebody. I want, and
Yes.
it's not just something that you know an individual would take to heart, but something that would resonate with the world
Yes.
in
Yes.
whole. Something that the world could see as this is a way that we could better ourselves.
Yes.
See
Yes.
'em? Yeah.
Mm.
So yeah, definitely.
Marlon,
Yeah, man.
listen, you had a bunch of hits after Ganja Farmer. I mean, the list goes on. I mean, strictly high grade, fit and strong, fit, strong, 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 plastic smile. You know,
Yeah.
with that one, sir, I mean, Shorty, what is the name of the
Yeah.
song? Yeah. You know the style, real big tunes,
Yeah.
man. So from Trinidad, you remember the first time you went to Jamaica and performed?
Yeah.
And
Well,
what,
the
and what
first
was
time
the
I
mm,
let me give you, so this is how I know that my thing
mm-hmm.
different from other people.
Yes.
Because nothing that I think is going to happen at certain times is
Mm,
what happened. Because the first time I've been to Jamaica to perform, I was actually at a show in New America,
yeah.
and I met with Munga Honorable.
Okay. Okay.
If you know the artist Munga
Yeah, I
Honorable.
know. I know Munga. Moon. I know
Yeah,
Munga,
and
man. Yeah.
yeah,
Mm,
he invited me to come to Jamaica, and he actually bought my ticket and everything and took me down
really?
there. Yeah, because he said,
Wow.
he was going to perform on a big stage show,
Yeah.
and we went down there, big motorcycle entourage. We on
Uh,
motorcycles heading to the show, long
mm,
line of motorcycle. Get to the
mm,
show, Munga gets on the stage.
Yeah.
He said, after I do these two songs, I'm gonna call you up to
Mm.
perform your song. And but by the time the man reached the second song, up comes Deva Brat. And so if you ever see that skirmish with Munga Honorable and Deva Brat,
Yes.
where they had a little scuffle on stage, I was
Uh,
actually standing on the stage waiting to sing their
serious?
song
I
while
gotta
they
I gotta
fighting. Yes.
I gotta
You gotta
YouTube that.
YouTube that. And just look on the stage, you'll see a really light green hoodie over
Uh,
somebody's head. A
that
really
was you.
light green hoodie. That was me,
Uh,
bro. I was just waiting to go up on the
wow.
stage and sing my song. But it
Wow.
never happened, you know?
Never happened.
Because we had to leave the venue. It was kind of
Yeah.
after they come off the stage, they were still at it. So yeah, we had to leave. Yeah, so,
Wow.
but it was the first experience for me going to
Yeah.
Jamaica and realizing
Yeah.
the way that passion that people have for the music. It
Mm-hmm.
actually made me not try to do too much,
Too
but
much.
to
Yeah.
walk in the path that was paved for me.
Yeah. Authentic self.
Yeah, yeah,
You went on tour with Sizzla.
yeah,
You also
yeah.
have music with Sizzla Kalanji, aka Dada. How did that relationship started? How did that relationship came together?
Well, me and Dada, that is the first entertainer that I think decide. You know what? I'm a mentor, Marlon.
Yeah.
That's how it is for me. Cause I met Dada, and instantly it was a click. we
Mm.
were we have some of the same views, so we
Yeah.
could sit down and talk for hours.
Yeah.
He is
Yeah.
a very educated guy, so you could learn
Mhm.
a lot from him.
Yes.
I
Very
am a
knowledgeable.
very good yeah, I'm a very good listener, so I learn a lot.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So me and Dada, we sit down and converse for long periods of time because Dada, he has views that really matters in the world. And
Yeah.
that is always about charitable works.
Yes.
Yeah, so these are things that relate to me. So from the time I met him, I kind of knew we would be good friends.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean, cause
Mhm.
yeah,
I
we
understand.
we clicked. Yeah, we clicked off like immediately, and
Mm-hmm.
me and Dada, we had a show in the Caribbean islands, and it had a misunderstanding where one of the guys that was traveling with him
Yes.
uh, kept knocking my door and
Mm-hmm.
trying to get me to go to Dada's room. He said,
Yeah.
Dada is calling you. So when I got there, uh, Dada was just calling me for a smoke, but the way how the guy was uh,
Aggressive.
aggressive,
Yeah.
it caused a skirmish with my manager
Yeah.
because he was like, oh, you can't treat him like that. But for me, it's
Yeah.
a humble thing to just walk over there and
Yeah.
deal with whatever. But my manager was like, he needs his rest and he got the show, and so it caused a little thing, and Dada came out and diffused it immediately, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
since that, he was like, yo, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Marlon, nobody go bother Marlon. And yeah, so
Yeah.
after that, he came to Trinidad for a show. But
Mm-hmm.
I was late in traffic,
Yeah.
and they cut my slot,
Yeah.
saying, well, I can't perform because I miss my slot.
Mm. And
But
you from
Dada
Trinidad?
now, yeah, Dada
Crazy.
is the headliner. Yeah,
Yeah.
Dada the headliner, and he was like, "Oh no, I'm not performing if Marlon not performing. This is Marlon place. Anywhere me see
Yeah.
Marlon, and give me full respect. So when me and I in place, me want to give him that respect.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
see me?
Mm-hmm.
And he said, well, I'm not performing. I was already leaving the venue when a car came driving down, stop us, and
Yeah.
say, "Oh, you got to perform, otherwise Dada wouldn't perform." And
Yeah.
the relationship strengthened from there
Yeah. That's a whole
because
different perspective.
when I got in there, they wanted to rush me up on the stage. And Dada said, "No, give him some time to compose himself." You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And
Yeah.
then we
Yeah.
smoke
Yeah.
a split. Me and Dada
Yeah.
smoke a split, reason a little bit, and then we go up on the stage. So you
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah,
So the
man.
relationship kind
Professionalism.
of
Yeah.
yeah, the
Yeah.
relationship kind of get knitted from that point on.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
Dada would
yeah.
have a show, if Dada have a show in Alaska, he would call me. I'm
Uh,
buying you a ticket. You're coming to Alaska next week. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
So it's
that's
a
nice, man.
blessing to have a
Mm.
brother like Dada on your side. You know,
True,
he
true.
just
And he
took me to.
understand and he understand the business too. You know.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So
Mm.
so let me tell you when I say Dada mentors me. Let me tell you. Let me share something with you. If I am, it's at one time Dada was like Marlon. He called me up. He said, "Yeah, see, I need you to disappear from social media
Mm.
for like a year."
Yeah. Wow. Mm.
So I did it,
Yeah.
and the reason was he was scrolling through some of my posts and realized that how he call it some he realized some different parties of people trying
Yeah.
to get contact with me that he thinks I'm not supposed to be associated with.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So he called me. I said, disappear for a year. Let them think you're not there anymore, and then you can
Yeah.
refresh your page. And it worked.
Keep
You
your
know, they
value up.
stopped sending me. Yeah, they stopped sending me messages, and so I
Yeah.
I always I always say I'm happy that someone actually was looking out for me in that sense, because I would not have been I would not been able
Conscious of it.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have even been conscious of this is going on, and I would have been answering everybody and trying to interact with everybody, and that already knew what was going on, so he kind of stopped it.
Yeah.
So
You
yeah,
understand. Mm.
yeah, I disappeared from the social media for like a year, and then I came back on with a refresh page.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice.
Um,
Now you've been all over the world, countless countries, cities, so forth. What's the one place you perform where you got on the stage and it's like, wow, I can't believe I'm here. I made it this far
oh,
as a youth, you know?
well, I've been to. I was a young guy when I went to Africa. I was like
Mm.
24, 25 around there,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that was an experience because eh, if I give you some experience with Marlon Asher, you'll be shocked.
Hey, we here for
Yeah,
it,
but
man. We here for
the
it.
first. All right, let's talk some Africa. The first time I've been to Africa,
Yes, yes.
I did a song called "My Country" with a guy called Henry Tiganye
Okay.
of Uganda,
Mm.
and the song became a local African hit,
Yes.
number one for 8 weeks
Yeah.
on their
Wow.
charts. All
Mm.
right, and you know the guy who had the number one song before that, he
Mm-hmm.
was like, "Oh man, so you did a song with Marlon Asher and it became number one. So I'm gonna bring him to Uganda and perform with him and get back my ratings." So the guy spent his own money,
Yeah.
fly me to Africa,
Mm-hmm.
and when I got there, the guy who is now the president of Uganda,
Yes.
he was campaigning and he was using the song as his campaign song.
Okay.
So he was the opposition. So when
Mm.
I get to Uganda, first time land in Uganda,
Yes.
uh, the now president, he swooped me up with a big long entourage behind us and drive us
Uh,
to this rally
mm-hmm.
where Henry T. Gagne was performing the song on stage, and they rushed me up on the stage and said, perform the
Uh,
song with him.
yeah.
Well, I thought was I'm first time here, so I'm thinking, all right, these are the people who brought me here. Maybe
Yeah.
I
You,
should
you're
sing
not
the
trying to
song.
be politics. Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Maybe I should sing the song. So I sang the song with the guy, not realizing that it's the other guy who brought me. So by the time I wake up in the morning, the guy doing an interview on the radio,
Uh-huh.
and the guy just stand up and say, "Kill Marlon Asher and his manager,"
What?
on the radio.
Serious?
On the radio. So when the guy
Mm.
said that, immediately we had to run from Uganda to Kenya. We drove
Yeah.
4 days, night into day into night, with them chasing us.
For real?
They only stop, yeah, they only stop when we get to the borders of Kenya because they couldn't
Yeah.
pass across to follow
Yeah.
us. And
Yeah. That's crazy,
my
man.
manager, she had an American passport, so they let us
Yeah.
pass through without any problems, but they could not follow us. And that's how we got safe. Because there was, before we fled, there was a little skirmish with the security of the hotel we're in, and
Yeah.
the villagers from, he was actually a chief in a village.
Yo.
In Africa, there are young chiefs in
Yeah.
Africa. You know, when you
Hmm.
hear chief, is not always an old person. Henry
Yeah.
Tiganya is a prince of a village, and he, when we walking on the street, people kissing his foot, and he's like, no, no, don't do it,
Yeah.
because he's a new generation kind of
Yeah.
chief. Not, you know, he don't want
Yeah.
his feet always kissed by his subjects. So
Yeah.
yeah, we had to flee from Kenya, from Uganda to Kenya.
Uganda.
It took us like
Uh-huh.
4 days, night into day into night. When we got there, you know, this story has a good twist to it, you know. Because when we
Yeah.
got there, we were walking on the street, and this guy was like, "Oh, is that Marlon Asher? Is that the
Yeah.
Ganja Farmer?" He was a professional footballer, and he took us on a nice tour around Kenya,
Yeah.
safari, shopping, you know. And then while that happened, the guy actually won the presidency.
Wow. Wow.
So now he sent a plane to Kenya, pick us up, fly us back to Uganda,
Yeah.
make the guy apologize publicly, and then
Hmm.
he told me, you have to do his show to make
Yeah.
it officially, to make it
You,
all right.
you,
So
you wasn't nervous
anytime I go
about
to Uganda,
Yeah.
I've got four bodyguards that meets me at the airport. They are
Serious?
always there once I get to Uganda.
Yeah.
I just wonder how you guys know I'm coming,
Yeah.
because they're just always there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've been there 5 times now, and they're just
Wow.
waiting at the. So it's they actually, the last time I've been there, one of them traveled for 3 days to get to me, because he
Mm.
was on the front line. They were at war, and he was
Yeah.
on the front line. And then
Hmm.
the president called him out of there to come hang with me. So yeah,
You know.
so
Uh-huh.
I've had some experience in life where I'm I'm supposed to be a humble man.
Man, I'm like I'm in all, man.
Yeah,
Africa. I had the opportunity to travel to Africa, and I always tell people, man, Africa is one of those places you have to experience, especially as a Caribbean person, once in your life, because there's so many similarities in
oh
Africa.
my God, bro. There
Mm,
is no way that I wouldn't be going to Africa. I've been to Africa like 5 or 6 times now.
yeah,
And every time I go to Africa, it's a new experience.
yeah,
Let me just
yeah,
put it that way. There is nothing that you can go and you see this, and when you come back, Africa is always developing too.
yeah.
It's all Something new is always happening. And that's
Hmm.
something I really like about Africa, man. It's something that, people should really experience for themselves, and not
Yes,
just take from here, say, and mouth say.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
True, 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 true. Nice.
Wonderful place.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So Africa. What about the UK? There's some big festivals out there in the UK. What's one of the largest one you performed?
Well, I just had a 5-page spread in the European Festival Guide. I had
Okay.
like a 5-page spread uh, in that, and I've been to
Mm,
Europe, a lot, but
yeah,
you know, my goal is to get onto some of those big festivals, the Rotterdam,
yeah,
some of the
yeah.
big festivals.
I've
That's
seen that around
my goal.
2000. That's crazy. Yeah.
I think come January next year, I've got a tour of Europe. Come January next year with
Okay.
uh with Kez, a guy called Kez Namde.
Okay.
Yeah, so Europe is a place that I haven't conquered, but I have been.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. I did
Nice.
a nice tour of Germany, Mannheim, Stuttgart, Helsinki. I did a good. It was a bullet train tour.
Okay.
So by night we perform and by day we go by bullet train.
Wow.
So
Wow.
yeah, that was a nice experience too.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, man,
Yeah.
some
Mhm.
nice life in the making. If you wanna be an entertainer, it's a nice life in the making, but you have to be grounded, and you know you have to really have a foundation.
Yes.
You know, I like to think my foundation is my spiritual background.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
whenever I travel, I take that with me. I don't just travel as a wayward kind of person. I travel with the vibes of the Almighty on my mind. So yeah, it's always
Yeah.
a blessing, to yeah.
What's your opinion or your view on music currently coming out of Trinidad? Of course, you had the movement
Well,
of
first thing,
Trinidad
yeah,
earlier. Mhm. Go ahead.
first thing I would like to say is music is a very powerful tool.
Hmm.
It can reach, it can break barriers and you know reach the new horizons even. So the music that one creates should definitely, you know have meaning in the content, and not just sing because I could put my vocal to a beat and make a song.
Yes.
In Trinidad right now, I would I've told it to many of them. Uh they have a huge opportunity to you know to burst onto the scene. A
Yeah.
huge opportunity to burst onto the scene. But they're limiting themselves by the content that they're creating,
Mm.
because not everybody want to hear about violence.
Yes.
Not everybody want to hear about guns. Not
Hmm.
everybody want to hear about people dying and how they're gonna die.
Yeah.
So yeah, what I think is I love the music that is coming out of Trinidad, but I don't really support the content.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
I love the fact that the youths have something of their own.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
not that they try that like something I did and they're trying it. No,
Yes.
this is something they created for themselves. I love that fact. But
Yes.
I always tell them, if you wanted to burst onto the scene, you got to have that content that is world, like that the world could appreciate, and not just yourself.
Yes. Yes. Not just a
You
community.
can't just sing music to please yourself and your community. You got to broaden your horizon where it comes to it's remember, the tool is a powerful tool. It's
Yeah.
not just, man. Hey, horse, come out from there. I don't know where that snake went. He disappeared on me.
Mm.
Jules, dude. Anyhow, I'll get
Yeah.
back to that a little bit. Yeah, so yeah, the content is what's actually stifling. Cause let me
The
tell
growth.
you this.
Hmm.
Yeah, let me tell you this. They can sing their song only in their village.
Yeah. Yeah.
They can't go to another village and share the music. No,
Hmm.
that won't work.
Can relate.
No,
Hmm.
because the song might be offensive to somebody in the next village
That is true.
because of your content. So yeah, I love the fact that they have their own, but I
Yeah.
think they should really, focus on what the content they want to put out there. That's if they want that as a career. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying?
Yeah.
Since the music in Trinidad came out, I saw a couple artists. get killed.
Yeah. Yeah.
When that
Unfortunately.
never used to be. Yeah,
Mm,
unfortunately, that never used to be. In you're artist in your country, and you being elevated by the masses,
yeah.
and praised by your friends and foes. You see what
Yes.
I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And that's not what's happening with their music.
Mm-hmm.
Their music is just for a group, and
Yeah.
it's sometimes it's just a small group.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just a. I think that even the producers that putting out the music should be more knowledgeable, because the youths are not the producers.
Yeah.
They doing the music, but they are not the ones producing it. The
Mm-hmm.
people producing it are elders like myself and like yourself, people who have knowledge about the music.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, I just can't blame the youths alone. I just think it's the content that I'll put this on.
Yeah. Well, what would you say the argument? Some people might say, well, that might be so, but as far as the numbers, social media, YouTube, Spotify, whatnot, we have 1 million views and streams and stuff like
Yeah.
that. You know, so the man might say,
Yes, I
why should
understand.
I be conscious? Why I should say some conscious and get 10 views when I could say, gunman this, gunman that, and get 1 million? What's your opinion on that?
Well, my opinion is you get a million views
Mm,
with the gunman thing, but with the conscious, 10 views, you get 10 shows.
yeah.
A million views, you get no show because you can't move from where it is.
Yeah, true, true, true. You gotta travel with that.
Yeah, travel nowhere. But the man with 10 views, him have 10 show because the views come from 10 different places.
Yeah, true, true, true. That's a good perspective. Good
Yeah,
perspective.
man, because me know about views.
Yeah.
Views is come with,
Mm,
we all know how to create a buzz.
yeah.
And if you're buzzing, you will get views.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, but if you're not making shows, if you're not doing shows as an artist, or creating content that will generate for you in the future,
Mm-hmm.
then it's not really a career that you could be, that will be lucrative to you. It will just
Yeah,
be a hobby.
true.
It will just come like a hobby, something that you do because you can do it.
Yeah.
But if you want to pursue the business aspect of music, you will try to put out things that people would purchase.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
I,
yes.
I, I, li- I don't get me wrong. I love the music in Trinidad, but it's just the content that is keeping them stagnant. And
Yeah, no
if they
balance.
don't address, yeah, if they don't address that view, then it's just gonna be something that fades away.
Yeah.
That music is gonna fade away if they can
Mm,
generate from it,
yeah. Um,
because it's
yeah,
go on,
sorry,
go on.
finish. No, no, finish your thought. Sorry.
Say, I said it's expensive to create an album, and
Yeah,
if you create an album with content that won't sell, then you can't get no returns, and the producers wouldn't want to produce you no more, and it could be a whole lot of things.
yeah, then the fade away.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
We just lost two, of course, reggae ambassadors, Coco T and Determined.
Yeah, yeah,
Did you know these artists? Do you had a relationship with them or anything
yeah,
like that?
yeah, yeah.
Mm,
I had a close relationship with Determine. I
okay,
actually just left him in Trinidad. I when I last visited Trinidad, I was actually hanging with him, and
okay,
we were in band practice together, and
yeah,
he was just talking about creating a song together, and yeah.
yeah,
So I know him personally. Coco T, I've met him a few times,
yeah,
just
okay,
by respect and for
yeah,
the artist himself. I kind of never, when I see Coco T anywhere, I never really pushed myself up to him. I always give him that room to be himself, because
yeah,
I always looked up to him as an artist growing up. So
Yes.
I'm actually a fan of Cocoa Tea. So you know what I'm saying? I always think, yo, let that man have his space. Man
Yeah.
has so much to deal with, you know?
Yeah. True. True.
And
Now,
determined
mhm.
good was
well,
a good bridge.
let's talk about determined because I never met determined. And of course, his work speaks for himself. So I'm gonna talk through you to kind of tell folks who determined was as a person.
Well, personally for me,
Hmm.
determined was, for the time I've known him, a good brother. He
Yes.
had a good heart. He always talked about, making music that matters.
Yes.
And, he's a revolutionary. He
Hmm.
he likes to make music that help people, you know, excel in
Yes.
whatever they're doing.
Hmm.
He what's wrong with that horse bike? Go and put you in your Corolla or something here. Yeah, he was always a straightforward person too. He determined always if he said it's white, it's white. He
Yeah.
was always straightforward,
Mm.
and I like that about the man because he never paint no picture for me. He always say it as it is. If it's
Yes.
graphic, it's graphic. If it's not, it's not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Determined was he was a
Hmm.
good brother to me. I won't say that. I won't lie to you. I've known him. He frequented in Trinidad a lot too.
Yes. Yes.
Cause yeah, it's a place close to him.
Hmm.
Determined was a legend, man. I put him amongst the greats. For
Yeah.
his
I remember.
messages. Yeah,
He definitely left a mark. I remember
yeah,
one
yeah,
time you guys did a show together in Trinidad. I think it was Point Fortin.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We just did a show down there.
Hmm.
Uh, that was a good show. He was kind of struggling with his voice, his
Okay.
vocals,
Hmm.
but he was electrifying on the stage, and
Yeah.
he had less to do because the crowd they he only had hits to sing. It's the
Yeah.
first one.
Yeah.
Everybody
Hmm.
was kind of singing loud, and
Yeah.
so but him of himself, he's an electrifying performer, bro. I must say that.
Yeah. Man, that's some hits, man.
Yeah,
I
he
and
has a
I
lot of
go
energy, man. He'll
play.
be missed. Yeah, he'll be missed. I'm sure he'll be missed. He got a lot of energy on stage.
Yeah. I'm Marlon, man.
Yeah, man.
You know, this at this point, man, I'm just gonna open up the floor. There's anything you want to share or add. I know you got some new music coming out. I know you also just released was it a single or album you released last year?
My album is dropping at the end of June, and I'm releasing songs
Hmm.
from the album up
Hmm.
until I reach up on. Boy, this horse and this dog having a field day here to go and deal with them. They're
Yeah.
running all. Yeah. So
Mm.
yeah, I just released a song called Revolution.
Yes.
And
Yes.
this is my songs is my new songs on my new album is kind of geared towards spirituality, humanity, equal rights and justice. These are the things that not for me, but
Yes.
these are the things that I think the world is kind of in need of. And in this time, a lot of things going on in the world, but for
Hmm.
ourselves individually, we can find a place where you know and revolution doesn't have to mean you fight against authority, or it could be within oneself,
Yes.
you know
Yes.
the thing that would make your life better, things that would make you feel a little more you know happy about doing things for others. And yeah,
Yes.
so the new album is kind of geared towards people finding that place. And you know music on the whole is, as I say, is very powerful. So I try to, you know, oh jeez, I try to make my music so the world can relate to it. And
Mm-hmm.
It's not like I say, it's not about me. It's about the things that the world necessarily might, cling to.
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah, I'm actually releasing my new album end of June. It's called
Okay.
Safe. It's
Safe.
called Safe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's got 13 tracks.
Yeah.
You know, and I've got like 12 videos also, because this album we wanted to have visual with audio and not just
Okay.
audio.
Yes.
You know,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
so the content is geared towards showing the world what life could be, showing the world what we go through, showing,
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
this album I think is gonna be well received, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
I just want to say to thanks to the fans and everybody involved in getting the music right. Vast Production, Don Corleone, you
Mm.
know, Killy Keys, who
Big
wrote
producer.
most of the songs,
Okay.
you know. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, man, it was a big, group effort, and I just want to say thanks to everybody that was a part of it.
Yes. Yes. Any features on the album?
Yes, the album is featured Taurus Riley Capleton,
Okay. Wow.
Sizzla, Luciano,
Yeah.
Massacre,
Wow.
J Boogs,
Yeah.
Slightly Stupid.
Mm.
Yes, I've got. This album is kind
There's
of a
some
deal,
hitters on there, man.
Yeah, some heavy hitters, Capleton and Taurus Riley, Diamonds and Gold.
Yeah.
Sizzla, Never See Us Fall.
Yes. 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 Yes.
Luciano, Give Praise. You know,
Mm.
J Boogs, I got J Boogs. We got a little love song that we created together,
Okay.
and that's we just shot the video. Like, I just went to Hawaii like a week ago, and we
Wow.
shot that
Nice.
video.
Mm.
Yeah, so a lot of things in the making, and
Yeah.
I do want the people to know that Marlon Asher will definitely be making music.
Yes.
To
Yes.
calm and keep the people loyal to themselves in this time.
Yes. I. Yes. I.
Healthy living. Take care of the children, make sure the sick is nourished. You know what I
Mm.
mean? These are the things that my grandfather instilled in me, and these are the things that I try to, you know,
Mm-hmm.
portray to the world, so that somebody who is in need may
Yes.
have some kind of comfort.
Yes. 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 For
Yes,
sure.
thanks.
You also you also in the marijuana business as well.
Yes, I've actually partnered partnered with James Loud
Yes.
from James Loud Genetics, and
Mm-hmm.
we have a company called Ganja Farmer Seeds.
Okay. Okay. Yep. Mm-hmm.
My my wife is into medical marijuana, CBD and stuff. So
Yes.
yeah, so we kind of well known in the industry
Yes.
where it comes to cannabis and medical cannabis.
Okay. So the ganja farmer seed, is that something that's sold retail or that's a wholesale type thing?
Oh, it's sell wholesale, retail. You know,
Okay. Mm.
I haven't put out any seeds this year, but
Yeah.
you can if you want to check the seeds out, you can go to Seeds Here Now
Okay.
or dagger.love.
Daga.love.
Yeah, that's the two seed distribution company that has my seeds in their catalog.
Okay. Nice. Nice. Nice.
And you just type in Ganja Farmer Seed and you can see the whole. I had a bestseller called Ganja Farmer OG, but
Okay.
it's kind of a hard strain to maintain because of the fact that the original OG strain has kind of gotten watered down.
Okay. Okay. Mm.
So now the OG that we breed, we mix it with some gelato and change up the
Mm.
vibes of it. It's still
Wow.
potent and strong, but now
Mm.
we adding flavor and things to it. So yeah. So in the maybe next year we're gonna put out some seed. This year, my business partner and I had some other things going on, so we didn't really put out no seed. We did pheno hunt and stuff,
Yeah.
and we have seeds to put out, but we didn't put it out. You know,
Yeah.
we so hopefully things would smooth out on his side, and I made a move to Costa Rica, so I gotta figure out how to
Mm-hmm.
interact with him on a daily, and
Yes.
yeah, we'll be putting out some seeds soon.
Well, let me ask you that. You mentioned Costa Rica, and obviously you're out in the farm right now. I see you got the horse, you got the goat and stuff like that. Real farmer life.
Real
What
farmer
made you
life.
decide to move? What made you decide to move to Costa Rica?
Well, my wife always talking about moving to Costa Rica, but then we had a visit here,
Okay.
and when I visited with her, that's when I knew, oh, let's move to Costa Rica. This is,
Wow.
you know, this is the greenery,
Mm-hmm.
the nature, the fresh oxygen. That's something that you know it's hard to come by in this
Yes.
time,
Mm.
especially you're living in city and it's
Yes.
always smog. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the reason, uh, one of the main reason why we moved here is because we have a now 4-year-old daughter,
Okay.
and
Well, congratulations. Mm-hmm.
she developed some breathing difficulties in
Okay.
California.
Mm.
So we had to figure out how to get her to a place where she could have fresh oxygen on a regular.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So far, we've been here, and she's been breathing like an angel. I must
Nice.
say,
Mm.
there's a reason for everything. She hasn't been having the problems she had,
Nice.
because when she was born, there was this huge fire in
In LA.
California. And it was not in LA. It was in
Okay.
Grass Valley. That's where she
Okay.
was
Okay.
born, in Grass Valley,
Okay. Okay.
California. And the smoke, the constant cover down with smoke, the house was always covered with smoke while the fire was
Okay.
going on. So that's
Yeah.
how she developed that breathing issue.
Mm.
So we had to, then we moved to Santa Cruz, and
Yeah.
the air was kind of too cold for her.
Mm.
So then we
Yes.
had to find something tropical. And yeah, when we came here for a visit and realized that she was breathing properly, we decided, let's
Yeah.
keep her here for a while and see what happens. And it's been good to her.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I
Yes.
heard a lot of good things about Costa Rica, man. A lot of good things. There's also a huge West Indian, I should say
Yeah, yeah.
Caribbean, Caribbean West Indian
There's a Caribbean
population.
side and a Pacific side. Yeah,
Yes,
definitely. So there's a huge market for music over
yeah,
here too.
yeah, yeah,
I've yet to tap into it, but I
yeah,
know from other artists who live in here calling me and saying, "Yeah, this is a place that you could just tour year round." So yeah,
right, yeah.
yeah,
But everything is in that time, man.
yes, exactly.
Well, Marlon, man, give thanks, man, for taking time out your busy schedule. Much appreciation, much success, man, moving
Give
forward, man.
thanks, man.
I definitely
Yeah, it's
want to
always a pleasure.
to give you flowers, man. And over the years, like I said, as a youth, I remember growing up in Trinidad. When you bust, as they say, you just kind of took that Trinity flag all over the world with Ganja Farmer. Everybody, listen. Anywhere you go in the world, people know the song, and it's one thing when they know the song, but they actually know the artist. A lot of time you might
Artist,
know,
yeah. Yeah.
yeah, but
Who is that? Who is that?
yeah,
No, yeah.
yeah, people know Marlon
Made
Asher, man.
myself a household name. Yeah, thanks. I
Yeah, man.
appreciate it.
Yeah, man. So give thanks, man, and look forward
Yeah, man.
to bigger and better things. All right.
Give thanks, man. I appreciate it. Yes, sir.
Yeah, but respect.
Much love and respect.
Yeah.